welcome to my channel. Now today's topic is pivot and datasets. So let's start with datasets. What are the datasets? What is the definition of datasets? A dataset is a collection of data that you either want to search or that contains the result from a search. So this is very straightforward definition. Some datasets are permanent and others are temporary. So every dataset has a specific set of native capability associated with it, which is referred to as the dataset kind. Okay, it's kind of, we can say, a categorization of the data. So to specify a dataset search, you use a dataset name. Okay, if the dataset is a different module, you specify the module name and the dataset name. Okay, so this is a pure definition of it. So it is easily understandable. So what exactly the dataset is? So there are two types of datasets. First is permanent, another one is a temporary dataset. So permanent datasets will store the data on the index on the disk, and you can search it later on, okay, in future. And the temporary dataset that you created runtime in the search, and then you can only search it at that time. You cannot store that. You generally do not store it. So one of the example of it is from this is after the pipe you are returning it from here. So this is the general definition of a dataset, a temporary dataset. So these just remember these names: temporary dataset and permanent dataset. Okay, so now we talked about kind of dataset. So the kind of dataset is nothing but a classification. So there are multiple types of datasets are there: index, matrix, lookup, view, job, import, catalog, and VTSPI, SPL sync, V1 SPL sync. Okay, so these are the kind of datasets. So this is high level about the dataset. Now we will check how can we access the dataset from the Splunk. Okay, so to access the dataset, from Splunk, you need to go to search and reporting. In search and reporting, you can see menu bars over here: search, analytics, datasets, report, alerts, dashboard. So here you need to go to datasets. So down here you can see all the datasets which are there in Splunk. So few are by default created, and when you create a data model, so there are certain database will be created. So this is how you can access the dataset. So on the dataset, what you can do is you can play around with the pivoting. So from here, if you want to access the acceleration dataset under this data model, so you can choose visualization, pivot, or investigate in search. So these are the two options you can do it. So the pivot, we will talk about pivot in detail. How can we create, and how it is easy for a person who do not know much about SPL, means Splunk search language. So pivot is helpful for them. Pivot hands-on. Let's dig down to the definition of pivot. The pivot tool lets you report on a specific dataset without the Splunk search processing language. So I already explained that the person who do not have a Splunk search language knowledge can write their own query with the help of a pivot. first identify a data set that you want to report on, and then use a drag and drop interface to design and generate a pivot data, present different aspects of that data in the form of table, chart, and other visualization. So it will provide you uh, a table, and then you can create a graph, chart, and other visualization as well. So how it works on data model. Data model generates a hierarchical structure of data. Then it has some data sets. The data sets I already explained. And then you choose a data set and then apply pivot on that. So for example, you have a data model that tracks the email service information with data sets representing email sent and email received. If you want to focus on pattern in your sent email, select email activity and the data model and choose email sent data set. So the data set will be a sub part of a data model. So email activity is a data model where the email sent is a data set. Okay, so let's go to the practical of a pivot. How can we create and select a pivot and everything? So let's begin. You have to choose your data set on which you want to apply the pivot. Now here there are multiple data models are there, and we see under that data model we have data set. So I do not have much data in the data model, but in my instance, this test instance, so I am doing the audit. I'm using the audit data model, and according to that I'm creating some report on the basis of user activity. So how many events are processed with respect to particular user. So how can we use this? So here you can edit it if you have admin access. So you can edit the data model, extend in table, and if you want to use a pivot, so you need to select visualize with pivot and investigate in search. There are two options. So you need to select to use pivot, you need to select visualize with pivot. So once you click over here, as means it will show you the total number of count with respect to that particular field. So here audit is the field or audit is the data set. So you can get the full you can say full event count of a data set. So the pivot automatically populate with a count of event of the selected object. So you have selected the objects as audit. So in this example you can see here. Now move further. So this is these are the count, and this is the selected field. So now you have time range. By default it is selected as all time. Now you can select as per your requirement how much data you want. So you need to click on this this button and edit it. Click on OK. Once you do it, it will get selected. Now if you want to split it further, now this is total number of event count with respect to all user. Now what I want to do is I want to bifurcate it with respect to each user. So remember that in your data model those fields should be populated. So before you have this, you need to get created the data model with your admin properly. Okay, so here I will select split by. Now I will select user. So once you select on user, it will give you certain options. First is label, if you want to give a label, otherwise it will be user. Then row, sort For sorting, there is default, descending, and ascending. Now default sort by the field value in the ascending order. Okay, ascending sort by the count in the ascending order, and descending sort by the count in the descending order. Okay, and the maximum number of row which is going to display over on the result. So you can specify. Once you create click on add to table, so it will add, and you can see your total number of count, the event per user is divided. So here is the user, and now with respect to each user there is a count. Okay, now if you go down, you can see the format. If you want to format this, I want to see the total, so you can see the total over here, and if percentage as well, you can see the percentage. So see, you can see the total count over here. This is the total count. Now if you need to drill down further, how can you split it further on the basis of certain columns? So what is the user activity, means user actions are there, what user has done which action. So you can click over here. Now again, there are certain options are there. If you need to select maximum column, you can select it, group together, height, these are the options. And if you want total, you can click on total, and once you add it, like see, we will add it. So you can see it over here. The user activity is divided as per its action, what all action is been performed with a specific user. Okay, so you can see it over here, the activities performed, these many activities performed. So remember, you have selected the total. So if you can see over here, the total is displaying over here with respect to each user. The total event count is defined, and if you can see at the bottom, for each action, the total is defined over here. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. So one who should not who do not have much knowledge on SPL search, Splunk search language, so it is very beneficial for them. Now moving further, if you want to do some you want to filter out some data, so what you can do is here, right here, you can click on this. If you want to remove admin or NA, let's remove NA. So I'll click on user. Okay, so match limit, so I am using match. So there are multiple options: is, contains, is not, and does not contain, start with, and ends with, is null, is not null, is list, is in list. So these are the options. So I will use is not. Let's see if it works. So there are, here you can see as well, so you can directly select over here or can write it. So once I do that, it will go off. So similarly, if there is anything which you do not understand in that field, you can remove it. Okay, so this is how you can filter the things. So this is without the what do you say, without the NA user. So total number of count will be accordingly. The NA user is completely vanished. So now again, there are few other things are there. so I'm putting it back now. Now how can you visualize your format? So what you can do is there is a number of visualizations are there. So like if you want to see it in the line format, if you want to see in bar chart, you can do it, and there are multiple options are there. So general options are stack means your data will be stacked one by one. Also if you want to see in multiple series mode, you can click over there. If you want to see the numbers, maximum, minimum, or for each data, if you want to see the number, so better you can put maximum and minimum. And also if you want to play around with the color options, you can do that. Now here what you want to put in x-axis and y-axis is here, you can define it over here. And there are other options are also there, how you want to define your data. Okay, so here time range, you can select any time range which you want. So some of the settings of the column chart field to be used to further breakdown. If you want to use for further breakdown, you can filter out, or further you can break it down. Then limit on the number, if you want to limit, this is the field. If you want to change or break down number of result, alignment, left, right, bottom, top, none. So currently it's right aligned. Then lesion truncation. So these are the options for visualization. Now after the visualization, if you want to save the report, you can do that. Click over here, save it. So user audit report demo. So I will save it. Once I do that, it will ask for the other settings, so I'll directly go and view. So this is my report. Okay, so once you go and click over here, it will turn into whatever your specific query. So you can see how complex is the query. So one who do not have knowledge on this, it's very difficult for him to generate this query. So you can see how easy is there for a person who have limited knowledge on the Splunk. So hope this is beneficial for them, and yeah, you can do a practice on that. And now the another option is instant pivot. So instant pivot, how can you create instant pivot? Instant pivot allow you to utilize the a pivot tool without a pre-exist data model. So if there is, you have seen that in the data model tab, dataset tab, there were pre-exist data model were there. So if you do not have any data model created there, so how can you use without the pre-built data model to create an instant report? You want to search it, whatever search you want to write, you search it, click over here, then there are multiple options: pivot, quick report, search and command. So go here, it will ask which field would you like to use as a data model. So you need to select it. So I'm selecting field with at least 60% coverage. So I'll click over here, so you can see it has it landed to pivot table. So now what you can do is you can use all your statistic commands. As per your knowledge, statistic or whatever command you want to run, or table or format, whatever you want to do, as explained earlier, you do it. Now when you save it, once you save it, it will ask for the data model title, and ID will be generated automatically. So you need to give it over here, and then once you save it, it will create a data model for you. Okay, so this ID will this ID will help you to create the data model. Okay, title and everything you want to give, range. So once you save it, your data model will be created. Okay, similarly you have similar kind of visualization for this as well. You can visualize and save it as data model. Save as a report. Once it will get saved as a report, as well as it will create a data model for you. Okay, so you can add it in the dashboard, save as dashboard panel. So there are multiple reports, multiple options are there. You can go and select it. So this is all about data set and pivot. So let's recap before we close it, summarize it. So we have talked about dataset. What is dataset? So dataset where you want to store the search result, or from where you want to search the data. So there are two kind of datasets over there. First is permanent, and the second is temporary. So how to access the dataset? So from the search application, you have to go to dataset. So here you can see the dataset, and then we talked about pivot. What is pivot? The pivot is when user does not know much about the SPL, so they can use a pivot. Similarly in Excel, a user can use a pivot. So same concept is here. So how to access a pivot? So you can go to any of the data set, and from there visualize the pivot. So once you click over here, it will redirect you to the pivot. Here you can see the different options: time, split by a row, and then split by a column, particular column. So you can do formatting as well. Then a chart, you can create a chart. You can save as a report, and you can save as dashboard panel as well. So these are the things you can do it. There are different options already I have explained in the videos. So, and also you can select, while formatting it here, you can select total number. Total it will provide you for different fields. So you can save reports and visualize anything you can do. How can you access the instant pivot? So to access instant pivot, what you need to have is, you should have a search ready. Once search is there, you can go to statistics, and here you can click on pivot. Once you do that, it will ask you about data model. So you create it, and then it will land you to the pivot. So if there is no data model is available, so you can access like this, and so once you save it, it will go in the data model. It will create a data model for you, so you can visualize as well through this, and you can create a dashboard panel. So this is how you can play around with the data model, pivot, and the data set. So there are multiple questions can come around the pivot and data set. So all the best for this topic, and hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching.